Good evening, everyone. You don't have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold right now. Um, my name is Sandino Gomez, and as you probably know if you're watching this, a student in the National University Teaching Credential and Master's program, working towards my social studies credential. And I just completed ITL 526, which is what do they call it? Integrated content literacy. Yes, content literacy. Basically, learning how to deliver a social studies lesson was a big part of what we studied this time. Again, excuse me, guys. I was going to try and keep this short and sweet. I would say there were three big things that I took away from this month's class. One, just really looking at the Common Core state standards for history and social studies, and thinking and learning about how we can unpack the standards and take the standards as like a really big, broad goal and create very demonstratable sort of learning objectives or concrete things that students can do in order to demonstrate that they have the skills in order to satisfy the standard. So I think for our discussion posts, we kind of broke apart a standard and helped students sort of think about, or helped us as teachers think about, what are students going to do to demonstrate their knowledge of the standards. So Common Core state standards, woo, look at those things. They're pretty awesome because I think they are a really great goalpost for us as educators, and then the sort of the learning outcomes that we create for the standards are sort of like our playbook to get students to that goal post, I guess. It's one way to think about it. Another big takeaway from this month's class was project-based learning as a concept and as a teaching method. I have always been a fan of group work, and I think something like project-based learning really has the potential to help students who might not succeed in a totally traditional academic setting or format demonstrate that they have knowledge, and giving them different ways to show that knowledge, whether it's things like benchmarks or portfolios or special presentations or projects that students work on that are then peer reviewed or presented to the group as a whole. Again, I'm just a big fan of group work in general, and I think project-based learning really has a lot of potential to have students, learn a little bit more of a real-world skill. The workplace is not like a classroom, and a lot of times you have to be self-directed, and you have to learn how to work with other people in order to get a job done. And I think something like project-based learning is very much able to do that for our students. So as a future inspired professional educator, I'm looking forward to challenging myself and challenging my students through project-based learning in order to, create different means for my students to express themselves and express the knowledge that they've gained. And speaking of different ways to express themselves, we also looked at the learning map as a concept to help guide lesson plans, not only in the planning stage, but also in the teaching and the analysis and the assessment stages, so that you can then apply those lessons to your next lesson plan. I think what I'm learning more and more about teaching is that, we come up with these lesson plans and we deliver them, we enact them, but a great teacher then takes the various forms of assessment, whether they're formative or summative, and then gets feedback as well from students, hopefully students you trust, who to give you honest feedback, so that they can then tell you kind of more or less how the lesson went for them. Because I think incorporating that feedback is just going to help you as an educator make your lessons even better. And I think that's important for us, that we need to inspire our students to try more. And so if we take their advice into consideration, I think we can design better lessons. Excuse me. So, within the lesson plan and within our planning efforts, we very much took into consideration concepts like universal design and learning, providing multiple means for students to demonstrate their knowledge and multiple ways for them to express it. um, the multi-tiered system of support model as well. And yeah, I think within that learning map, we also thought extensively about how we can make content accessible, make our subjects accessible to our students, particularly ones that had special considerations, such as English language learners, students with exceptionalities or learning disabilities, and just students that are perhaps just struggling with grade level stuff. So we really thought a lot about how to scaffold students for success, how to make sure that while students were all doing essentially the same lesson, maybe there were things or considerations we could have for our students so that even though they weren't all playing at the same skill level, they were all doing the same activity, and with a little bit of help, they were able to all basically perform at the same level despite the differences in skills starting off. It's sort of like the difference between like equity and equality. You can look up a lot of really great graphics online that sort of demonstrate the difference of those concepts. So trying to make our lessons equitable and not just equal for everyone, I think, is an important consideration that I took away from this month's class as well. I think that's pretty much it. Breaking down the standards, the benefits of project-based learning, and learning to use the learning map were the big three takeaways. And then I think for me personally, I also, I feel like writing about this class, I sort of chose TPE number 4, Planning, Instruction, and Designing Learning Experiences for All Students. I think the learning map really helped us consider all students and the different needs that students have. And I think also just the project-based learning and the learning map really helped me develop myself as a professional educator, which is something I look forward to doing. I have a long way to go to learn all this stuff. I want to learn from mentor teachers. I want to learn from experienced veterans in the classroom, and hopefully not have to reinvent the wheel myself, because I'm not that good at inventing. I'd rather take what already exists and work with that and make it my own, and hopefully inspire my students to learn. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much. This is Sandino Gomez signing out. Gonna go take a little rest now. Yeah. Hope you have a great afternoon, morning, or night, whenever it is that you're watching this.